Hi gang, welcome to Behind the Rhinestones. I am your host, Dinah Dare. We've been away for a month, so thank you so much for coming back and joining me. I had some admin to catch up on. So if you have never watched any of these episodes before, here I interview some of the stars of burlesque and cabaret, primarily within the UK scene, and occasionally we have some guest stars. Today, we have one of our very own from the UK. But before I introduce them, just a reminder, please do like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy this. There is a new episode coming every Sunday. And as you can also see, there is other such content, such as tips and tricks with Dinah Dares to Plan. So without any further ado, I will welcome to our call Fleur Du Mal. So welcome to YouTube, Fleur Du Mal. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This is like my first time ever doing a podcast interview, so
Excellent.
I'm very excited.
Oh, I'm so happy I'm like you're first into it.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
popping the cherry.
Yeah. I feel very pleased with that. Blessed. Um, Obviously we were just chatting before we recorded, but you look wonderful and you've got your spooky background as well, which is even
Yes, all of my various books I've collected.
I love it. It's so in theme. Are you a Halloween kind of gal then?
Um, yeah, yeah. I would say I'm probably just as Halloween as every other burlesquer, but what I am is a gothic lit girl.
Oh.
Yeah, I studied gothic literature, and that's where I took my name. I
Mm.
studied Gothic poetry and the poetry of Baudelaire, and he did a compilation called Les Fleurs du Mal, and I said, "I'm having that. That's my name." So
Oh my
yeah,
God.
got to
I love
represent the literature.
I love that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Gothic literature is oh oh to be fair, anything got I'm more of a Gothic architecture kind of human.
Oh
Like
yeah,
mm-hmm.
a beautiful old Gothic cathedral or something.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I'm just like oh. And like obviously I live just outside of Glasgow and if you just people don't think about it, but if you look up if you're ever next time you're in Glasgow,
Mm.
just across the top of a lot of the buildings, it's still got a lot of that sort of architecture there, but people tend to not look above their eye line.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but if you just look up, it's gorgeous.
Mm. I will bear that in mind because I'm going to be in Glasgow in December.
Oh my God, yay!
Yes, so I think it'll only be like my third visit to Glasgow.
Oh,
So I'll
nice.
make sure to look up.
Yes, do. And also, if you've got spare time, give us a shout. We'll grab a coffee or something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Um, right, we should probably I should actually ask you questions. That would be a good idea. Um, so how did you get into burlesque?
Ooh, okay, so I got into burlesque a long time ago. This year in April, I actually hit 18 years.
You are legally old enough to drink.
Right, right. My alter ego is a legal adult now. Um, but yeah, I kind of it's all such a long time ago, I can't remember the exact details.
Yeah.
But I was getting into the kind of vintage retro fashion subculture
Yep.
and also the music. And I was really, really into a group called the Popini Sisters.
Yes.
Yeah, you
I've
know,
heard of them. Yeah.
they were, I think they just released their first album. And I looked them up to see if they were touring, and they happened to be coming to um, a venue in Nottingham. And I said, "Oh, okay, let's go to that." And it turned out the venue was actually, well, the event that was happening that they were playing at was a burlesque show, and
Oh, nice.
it was a show called the Pity Pat Club, and it was run by Cherry DeVille, and it was like the resident show of the DeVille Dolls troupe. And, you know, I got there, I had no idea that there were going to be burlesque dancers there. But I knew about like Dita Von Teese, so I had a
Yep.
vague idea of what burlesque was. And then I saw them perform, and a Birmingham-based performer was like their guest performer. She was called Faye Tish. So she was the first performer I ever actually saw. And I just loved it. I saw these girls up on stage who, they looked like normal girls, but able to do this like fantasy world. They were creating this like fantasy world, and they had their characters. They
Mhm.
all do their different routines. I think they did troupe routines at that time, but like it was so different to anything that was going on in Derby. And I thought they look like they're having so much fun, and I really want to do that. So if people in Nottingham can do it, there's no reason I can't do it. So I went off and I did like a ton of research into the current, as it was, current burlesque scene, and put together a few acts. And everything was on MySpace back then.
Yep.
So, I just messaged lots of people in on MySpace, and I did some private events. I had some people who were willing to give me a chance to debut things. And then eventually I got into the Pity Pat Club as well. They booked me, Cherry booked me for a couple
Nice.
of shows, which was like, I kind of felt like I made it at that point.
Yep.
And then I just kept sending out messages and trying to go further and further and to bigger and bigger shows. And I've ended up here.
18 years later, you're like, hi, I'm still doing it.
I'm still here. You can't get rid of me.
That sounds so good. I love it when people have stories about how they just go along to a show, but also the Venn diagram of vintage girlies going into burlesque is almost a circle at this point.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the paths cross so often, even if you don't get up on stage yourself, you're going to the shows or you've been to one in the past.
Yeah. Adita's a massive crossover of that as well. Like I think
Oh
you
yeah.
said yourself, vintage, Adita.
Yeah,
Um, so
exactly. Yeah.
that's yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Um, so 18 years. I'm going to skip ahead a wee bit from how I normally ask these questions.
Mhm.
What has been some of your like career highlights over 18 years?
Mm, tricky. I think traveling to places that I never thought I'd get a chance to travel.
Hmm.
You know, um, for a lot of us, burlesque isn't exactly making us millions. So there are places that you want to travel and you think, well, I'll never have the spare money to get there, and I'll never have a reason to go. But suddenly, if there's a cabaret show there, maybe you get the opportunity. So for me, one of the biggest highlights was going to Reykjavik, because
Nice.
yeah, that had been on like the top of my travel wish list for
Yeah.
decades at that point. And I reached out to Miss Mocky, who runs Reykjavik Cabaret, or ran Reykjavik Cabaret. I'm not sure if it's still going on. But yeah, she was looking for international performers. So I messaged and said, hi, I'd love to come. And she booked me. I got on a plane and I spent, I think, a week out there because I thought, if I'm here, I'm going to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big highlight. Um, and then I think another big highlight was producing a couple of shows in the biggest rock and alternative live music venue in Derby,
Wow.
which was amazing. There's just something about sort of being backstage and knowing that there's a performer on stage and hearing the audience react to them
Hmm.
and thinking, I kind of made that happen.
Yeah.
And it's surreal in the best way. And I remember, I think when I booked Nova Storm from London,
Yep.
and oh my goodness, like the passion and the ferocity that Nova brings onto the stage, the audience were so on her side. If Nova had said, right, we're gonna storm the council buildings, they would have followed them. The audience was so completely under their spell.
Yeah.
There's a bit at the end of one of Nova's acts where she leads like a chant of my body, my choice. And
Hmm.
the entire place was just screaming it. And I'm sort of sitting backstage thinking, wow, okay, I kind of made that happen.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a very different feeling, but just as big a highlight, I think.
Yeah. 100%.
Mhm.
We're going to come back to your producing. That is something I'm going to talk about, but I want to focus on you as a performer first.
Okay.
Because you do wear many hats, and we will get to your many hats. So what does your kind of creative process look like, and where do you tend to get like your inspiration from?
It's a difficult one. I mean, I imagine that most people say, "Oh, it could be like from here. It could be that. It could be pictures. It could be movies. It could be music. It could be a color scheme." And yeah, I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
My inspiration could come from anywhere. I did go through a phase of directly using Baudelaire poems.
Nice, because that's where your name came from.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, he had one called "The Dancing Serpent" and one called "The Vampire's Metamorphosis." So
Hmm.
immediately you can kind of imagine costumes and movements and things. And I kind of went, yeah, I'm going to do an act based on each of these.
Yep.
Um, and then I kind of went through another phase of I'd have an idea for like a costume or a gimmick, and
Yep.
then try and relate it back to a Baudelaire poem. So that was like my thing for a while. Um, an example of that is my razor blade act. There was a video that kind of went viral on Facebook, and it was a scene from I think it was the Avengers, you know, the TV show.
Yep.
And it was a woman who had tassels with razor blades on the end.
Oh,
And she was
nice.
spinning these tassels, and the hero holds up a chair to protect himself, and the tassels just cut the chair to pieces. And I said, "Well, why is no one doing that?" So I made some razor tassels.
You'd have to do that, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like if it's not been done, someone has to do it, and I
Yeah.
will step up to that. I'll take the challenge. Um, and yeah, then I had to find a Baudelaire poem to relate it to, and just for my own amusement to give it a deeper
Yeah.
meaning. But my creative process tends to be uh, make the costume first, and I kind of if I have an idea, something will spark the idea, and I'll think, oh, if I was going to do a hypothetical act to this song or with this idea, how would I do it? And I kind of think about it, and it's all hypothetical. It's not going to happen yet.
So that's what you tell yourself
Yeah,
internally the
yeah,
whole time. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
It's
yeah, of
like,
course.
well, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do this. And then one day I will like buy a prop
Hmm.
or a fabric for a costume or something, and suddenly it's happening. Like the switch has been flipped, and like, oh, okay, well, this is happening now.
Yep.
Costume always comes first because it's my favorite part. And especially if I don't have a deadline, I like to take my time making it right.
Hmm.
And then the last part is choreo because I hate choreography with a passion. I find it so hard. And
Hmm.
I don't know if you're like me or if you're the other side of this, but I am one of those who I have to be choreographed. I have to have every beat choreographed. I
Mm.
go up on stage and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, I'll freeze.
Yeah.
You know, I can't build in like, oh, and then I'll just improv it this time.
I'm kind of the first few times I do something, it has to be choreoed to pretty much within an inch of its life.
Yeah.
And then I always say that the more and more I get comfortable with it on stage, I start to play and I'll sort of go out of
Yeah.
my comfort. Like I'll do a little bit of different things or I'll change it up in that moment or I'll play around because I know when I can bring it back to the choreo. But when I start, it's
Exactly.
definitely very much I know where I am, where I'm going, and then I sort of give myself time to play with it once I'm comfortable.
Yeah, exactly that. Once you've got the framework, you can play, and if you get inspired to do something different on stage, you can because you've got the safety of going back to
Yep.
the frame. Yeah.
That's 100% me.
Yeah.
Just going up and straight up improv, I've done it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either. I try and avoid it when people say like, "Oh, do you want to come and do my improv show?" No, no, thank you for the offer, but no.
I can do it, but all it is internal screaming.
Yeah,
Like I'm
yeah,
just dancing to internal screaming the whole time.
yeah. And you've got the deer in headlights look of like,
You're like, this is fine.
oh, it's fine,
But
it's fine.
do you often try and find, like you said, you've kind of got like a costume or a concept in your head first. Do you often then like have to find music? Is finding music a, because that's the worst part. See, if I have an idea before I found the music, finding the music that fits
Yeah,
does my head in.
yeah, yeah. It can. That's why I like to not have a deadline. Another reason I like to not have a deadline because
Hmm.
sometimes you can't find the music that speaks to you.
Yep.
But then for me, it's the other way around as well. Like if I find a piece of music, sometimes I can't find a concept to it.
Yeah.
I think when would it have been? It was New Year's Eve, 2023. I debuted an act to a piece of music that I had decided I wanted to do an act to in, when would it have been? About 2008.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I just never found the right concept for it.
Yeah.
Like I love this piece of music, and every few years I would go back and think, well, what can I do with it? But it's like a modern jazz piece,
Okay.
and I was given the opportunity to run a show in a jazz bar. So I said, okay, well, this is the time. If I'm
Yeah.
not going to use it now, when?
Yeah. It kind of has to be that moment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a full costume sitting there for about a year now. I just cannot find music for.
yeah, yeah. And even if people suggest things to you, if it doesn't speak to you, it's not right.
No,
Yeah, I
not at all.
understand.
It's so frustrating. You mentioned your costume there, so do you make all your costumes from like
I
scratch
do
or?
I do now. Yeah. I didn't used to, but I really love sewing. Like you can see I've got my pins and my like embroidery threads and
Yeah.
this is Saint Tim gun here reminding me to make it work. Um, and yeah, I've always loved sewing, but I've always been bad at the construction side. I've never known how to do the construction side.
Yep.
And then a few years ago, I had like a part-time job in a bridal shop.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, the seamstresses there taught me quite a lot. And they taught me
Mm.
to not be afraid of sewing machines or pattern drafting. So now, yeah, I try and make all of my dresses, especially like my outer gowns, I try and make them all from scratch. And I just really I love the idea of sewing and the challenge of it. I hate doing the maths
Hmm.
because if you ask me how I've done it, I don't know.
You're like, I've just done it.
Yeah,
It's easy.
it made sense at the time, but if you asked me to explain it in words, I couldn't tell you. Like I've
Yeah.
made my blue gown with the pull cord, quick release,
Yes.
and it's got like an asymmetric hem. I don't know how I did that. I don't know how I drafted it. I just kind of followed the logical steps at the time with like a pen and paper, but I wasn't thinking in words. I was just kind of thinking in
Hmm.
shapes.
Yep.
So now I can't tell you how I did it. It just happened.
But I mean, it's a good skill to have though. So sewing something I've been trying to learn the past year and a half, and I've started making like the pants for costumes
Oh
just.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I've got that far.
Yeah.
But I've seen some of your stuff on TikTok where you're like doing the placement of your appliques over like your dresses and stuff, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, I love that. That's my
beautiful.
favorite part.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do in the bridal shop.
So you're like, you're like, I'm doing this. I know this. This is great.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. But I think that sewing is one of those things that there's more sort of logic and maths and science to it than you initially think.
Yep.
So when you go into it thinking it's going to be a really fun, creative pastime, and then you get hit with working out formulas, puts a lot of people off.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
why I'm like, I can make pants because I've got several drafted ones. I've got my patterns. I know how to make them. And I'm like, I'm happy in this wee zone just now. I will branch out eventually, but I'm like, I can make pants. That's enough.
Well, you see, I'm kind of in awe of you doing that because I'm like, you're working with stretchy fabric and elastics, and I can't do that.
So I learned from, is it Menage a Trois?
Oh yeah, Manouche. Manouche.
Menage.
Yeah, yeah, I need
Um,
a Patreon.
I learned how to make them from her. And
Mm,
then I've kind of adapted it and ended up making like my own patterns.
fantastic.
Um, which is great because like I don't, you might find this like from buying costumes, a lot of costumes are like it's the crotch area is always like this
Just
and then
that
a bit
little
of
bit so
fabric. And I'm
narrow.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing any floor work or anything that's gonna like expose. I'm always worried, so I was like, I need to fix this.
Yeah, all you need
Um,
to do is bend a little too far and suddenly fully
yeah,
exposed.
it's
Hmm.
it's a different sort of show.
Yeah, suddenly we might be breaking a law here.
Yeah. So that's fine, but I have to say the elastic is the bane of my life. So
Yeah, I can imagine it is. Sewing elastic on a sewing machine is like my worst nightmare.
I mean, my sewing would not pass any sort of test, but it looks fine on stage.
As long as it looks good from the outside, it's fine. The back of it is that's none of our business.
No one needs to see that.
No,
I'm like,
no.
oh, that bit's a bit dodgy. Rhinestone.
Exactly. That's what I do all the time. Like, oh, I can cover that with trim, it's fine.
Yeah, hide all of the sins. Um, so obviously we're kind of chatting there. You said you've obviously learned to sew your costumes and stuff, so that's one thing that's changed. But how much do you think you've changed as a performer from when you started? Do you think your style's changed or your approach?
So much, so much. I mean, when I first started, I took on this name from Gothic literature,
Mm-hmm.
but I soon realized that I wasn't this elegant Gothic femme fatale. That's what I thought back then. So I
Yeah.
thought, I can't do sexy, as I think a lot of us do when we start. We think, well, I can't be sexy. I'm just a weird, awkward, nerdy kid. So I thought I could do, the cutesy cheesecake comedy stuff.
Yep.
What I didn't realize is I'm not actually that cute. I'm not a cheesecakey type. I'm not a happy, smiley, bubbly, um, dynamic performer.
You are more of a golf queen.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't know that. So I had it in my head that, I can do this cute cheesecakey stuff. But we all experiment as well early
Yeah.
on. And I remember putting together this act, which was like a film noir act. And I was being the 1930s femme fatale, and I was moving very slowly. And I thought, this act is boring. This act,
Mm.
because it's not the kind of thing that I thought I was good at. So I thought,
Yep.
oh, this people must be really bored by this act because I'm so slow. So I tried not to advertise it too much. I performed it once and then tried to go back to the cutesy comedy. And I remember I was backstage at Dr. Sketchy's in Birmingham, and we were talking about styles. And I vividly remember saying, because I'm not sexy. And a performer called Ditzy Diamond, she kind of turned around and just gave me this, like, are you crazy look? And I said, what are you looking at me like that for? And she said, I think you're very sexy. And I said, yeah, I don't try to be. And she said, yeah, that's why, because you're not trying.
Mm.
And it just kind of flicked a switch in my mind of, well, maybe the way I see myself is not the way everyone else sees me.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, well, I'll try doing this film noir act a few more times. And I kind of realized that the slow thing, if you commit to it, it can be amazingly sexy and hypnotic and can catch people's attention.
Yep.
So although I thought it was boring, it wasn't at all. I wasn't into it. And the
Yep.
more I did it, the more I loved it. And now that has become my entire performance personality. I am the slow burn performer.
Yeah.
I'm the not exactly low energy, but I'm not like dynamic and splits and tricks and things like that. I'm slow and I will catch your attention that way.
Mm.
And if Ditzy had never said that to me, if she'd never looked at me like you're mad, like who knows where I'd be right now? I'm
Yeah.
probably still trying to do comedy.
I love that though. It's such an interesting statement there what you said about how you view yourself as maybe not how others view you as well. Because I do think There's a couple of things you said in that story that stand out. I think all of us at one point when we first try and do a classic act go, oh no, this is boring, I can't do this.
Yeah. Hmm.
Every single time.
Hmm.
And then you learn actually there's a skill to doing classic, there's a skill to doing a slow burn and
Yeah.
holding your audience attention. And it is
Hmm.
more about attitude and you need to be in it in that moment,
Yeah.
which you need to be with all of your acts. But I think it's even more obvious if you're doing a slow burn if you're not there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's often no character to hide behind. Like if you're doing a nerdlesque or something where you're playing a character, you've got the character's mannerisms to hide behind. But if you're just doing a straight slow burn classic striptease, you've got to come up with your own mannerisms.
Yeah,
And yeah, it feels much more vulnerable, I think.
yeah.
Hmm.
Or at least your own, like when I do acts like that, I hilariously also have one that's kind of inspired by like 30s and 40s femme fatale jazz
Hmm.
bar
Love it.
vibe.
Hmm.
Like big hat hides half my face, all that kind of
Oh, I
yeah.
love it. Yes. Love that aesthetic.
It's gorgeous. And
Hmm.
it's very much a slow burn. It's just to like a piece of instrumental music, very like jazzy, smoky, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um and I kind of have an idea in my head of who that character is, and I kind of play into that when I'm in that moment. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's taken me effort to be like, well, who is this character? What is it I'm
Yeah.
doing here?
Yeah. Hmm.
There's a very much you have to be like then you have to work out, well, how does that character move? And there's almost a bit of acting in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not a dancer. I did ballet classes and then jazz classes and even some ballroom from the age of 2 up until 17, but very
Oh.
casually.
Mm,
And when I started doing burlesque, I thought, well, I want to be like this perfect technical dancer. And I soon realized I wasn't going to be because I didn't have enough experience. And also, I'm chronically ill and I have balance issues and possible dyspraxia as well. So I
mm.
was never going to be this like perfect, technically brilliant dancer. So acting is where I kind of found my niche, I
Yep.
think. So I always say I'm not a dancer, I'm a performer.
Mm,
Because if you say dancer, I feel like people expect you to have technical ability, and I haven't got that. But I'm a performer. I perform, I act, I mime,
yeah.
move in interesting ways.
I
So
like that distinction. That's quite a good distinction because I'm the same. I did dance when I was a kid, and then that was kind of it. And it was for barely a year if you're lucky. So I have even less experience. So yeah, I totally get it. Like I like that distinction actually. That might be something I steal from you.
you're welcome to it. You're welcome to it. What I don't want is to advertise myself as a burlesque dancer and have people expect Aurora Nova or Cleopatra levels of skill because that's very much false advertising applied to me.
Yeah, if anyone expected me to dance like that, I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to see myself out the building. That's
Yeah. It's like, well, it was nice to meet you. Bye.
so obviously we're going to spin back to what you mentioned earlier. You produce as
I do.
well.
Yes. Yes.
How did you get into that? How do you like what was your vision for getting into it? Did you have one or was it just it called to you? Because I know some people producing is very much just in their blood almost.
It's it's kind of it's not the best story. So basically, where I live in Derby, it's kind of a deprived area.
Mm,
The people here are not particularly supportive of any kind of arts.
mm,
So there's not really much of a burlesque cabaret scene here. There's a bit going on in places like Nottingham or Leicester, but in Derby especially, not very much.
okay.
Um, so it was always difficult to get regular work because I've got nowhere that I can have like a regular bookings. Um, and then pandemic came along, which completely decimated the scene for everyone
Yep.
and was awful timing for me personally, because a week before we went into the first lockdown, I had a surgery.
Oh,
And
great.
yeah, perfect timing, right? And then I had like this horrible recovery. It took something like 6 months to recover. So even when people were doing like online shows, there was no way I could join in.
Yep.
And then when just as I started sort of making a comeback, my Facebook was hacked and taken away from me. So I lost my Facebook profile, I lost my Facebook page, and overnight I lost 15 years worth of networking and contacts. And at that time, and I think it's still the same now, really, castings were very, very localized to Facebook.
Yeah, it does it does still seem to be that way.
Yeah, yeah. And because I wasn't around, I wasn't on Facebook, I wasn't applying to castings, a lot of people thought I'd retired.
Hmm.
And to this day, people still say, "Oh, you're performing still. Oh, I thought you'd retired. I thought you retired after the pandemic." No, it's just Meta took away my ability to communicate with people.
Yeah.
I'm very bitter about it still.
I feel like you have a fair, like, that's a fair reason to be bitter because Jesus Christ.
Thank you. Thank you. I think so too. So yeah, I had a choice at that point between retiring, which I didn't want to do,
Yep.
or making my own work.
Hmm.
So one of the reasons that I'm producing is basically so that I can work. Um, but also, like I said, this part of the country is kind of overlooked. I feel like, financially, we're some of the lowest earners in the country. We just don't
Hmm.
have very much money going around. There's very little support or appreciation for the arts. And because of a combination of those factors, there's not really much of a sort of centralized burlesque community here. There's no like hub. And one of the things I really want to do with my shows is to raise the profile of
Hmm.
Derby, especially, but also the entire East Midlands. I want to help um, create, well, not create, but solidify that community because
Yeah.
we do exist. We are here and we're doing really interesting stuff, but people don't really know about us. So
Yeah.
I want to show the local community and the wider cabaret community what the East Midlands has to offer in terms of local talent. And I also kind of want to get people feeling a little proud of being
Hmm.
from Derby because there's very much a feeling here of, Derby's shit. It's always been shit. It's always going to be. There's no point in doing anything different. It's never going to get better.
Yeah.
People grow up and they think, well, as soon as I'm 18, I'm leaving. I'm going to London. I'm going to Manchester. I'm going somewhere where things are interesting and where
Hmm.
people care about things. Um, but Derby's got this really rich history and I think people don't know about it, even the people who live here.
Hmm.
Like I learned quite recently, shockingly recently for me, last year was the 100th anniversary of the first ever stage adaptation of Dracula, and it happened in Derby,
Oh, wow.
right? And people don't know, people in the city don't know that. Why would people outside of it know that?
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously up in Scotland, but Derby, I know Derby, but I don't know anything about it, so it's not really somewhere I'd
Yeah,
think
I'm not
of.
surprised. I'm not surprised. But yeah, the reason that Bela Lugosi wears a cloak in that first Dracula movie is because they needed something to hide the trapdoor in the stage. So they put the actor in this cloak so
Oh,
you wouldn't see the trapdoor when he appeared and disappeared.
that's clever.
Isn't it? Isn't it? So we've got this hugely rich theatrical and artistic history, but no one knows about it, even the
Hmm.
people who live here. So I kind of want to bring that back. I want people to not be ashamed. Even when I used to apply for international shows and festivals, when they'd say like, what city are you representing? I'd think, oh, do I want to tell them I'm from Derby, or do I just lie and say I'm from Birmingham or London or something?
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to actively fight against that mindset and say, no, I'm proud of where I'm from.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It sounds like it's got an amazing history, and that's something that you can feed into and feed off of and
Oh yeah,
continue, and as you said, raise the profile of it as
yeah.
well.
I mean, there's been an entire program of Dracula themed events happening over the last year, all
Oh my
around.
God, I wish I'd known because I'd have been like, I'm coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might still be going on, so
Oh,
I'll let you know if anything interesting pops up.
I might have to have a nosy and be like,
Yeah,
what's
do it.
happening? Oh, that's really cool. So the kind of idea behind it is to, as you said, grow the community or solidify the community and
Mhm.
make people kind of be proud of where they're from.
Yeah.
Is that why you also do a bit of teaching as well? Is that kind of part of that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of that. Partly because, I've kind of built up a bit of a reputation in certain parts of the city now. So I kept getting asked, are you going to? And I kept saying, oh, I don't know if anyone would want to learn from me. And then I kind of thought, well, no, I've been doing this a long time. I've got knowledge, I've got experience, I've got valuable things to pass on. Everyone's got valuable knowledge.
Yep.
Um, and another part of it is that, like I say, I've been in this community for a long time, but I don't really feel like I've contributed much. I don't feel like I've given much back. I don't feel like I've
Okay.
been in a position to contribute much for a lot of it, what with my terrible health
Yeah.
and very sort of that makes my position quite unstable because I can't perform as often as some people can.
Yeah.
Um, but now I'm in a really stable position. So now I'm able to think, right, okay, well, um, how can I give back? How can I contribute to the community? How can I make myself more visible and make the rest of the community visible with me?
Yep.
So yeah, part of the teaching inspiration was that. Yeah. Um, and it's been really fun because you get this like real time feedback. You can actively see the people who come back again and again. You can see them get more
Yep.
confident. You can
Mm.
see them get more um, gain more ability, like when they're trying to do specific moves and they say, oh, this is so hard, I'll never be able to do it. Something like a bump or a grind, and they think, oh,
Yep.
my body doesn't move that way. And I say, it will do. Just relax, let it come, let it come. And then a few weeks later, they're doing it and they're going, oh, this is how it's meant to work.
Yeah.
And you get that, as I say, that real-time feedback of seeing their confidence grow and seeing them get
Mm.
happier and more comfortable with what they're doing. And it's very, I don't know, it makes me feel quite proud. Makes me feel proud.
Good.
Yeah.
I was thinking when you mentioned earlier about producing, you sort of
Mhm.
said there's that feeling of being backstage and you hear someone on the stage and the audience is screaming for them and you're like, you made that happen. Is there an element of that where you're teaching as well when like they're growing and becoming better and you're like, I helped do that?
Yeah, yeah, there's a bit of that. Um, but I think that a lot of teachers would agree with me that one of the best things about it is when they find their own way.
Yeah.
Like I have a troupe at the moment who are rehearsing for their first show in my Halloween show. And we kind of listened to a few bits of music. They chose the bit of music they wanted. They came
Hmm.
up with their own concept, their own characters, and they're really embracing like their individual characters.
Yep.
I've had very little input into the concept. I've kind of given them ideas for choreography, and they've taken what they liked. And the really, really fun thing about that is, I'm not just like producing performers who I think they're not performing how I think they should perform.
Yeah.
They've come in with their own ideas, and they're so enthusiastic about it.
Mm,
And it's really fun to just see how they're steering everything. I'm just kind of guiding it.
yeah. Do you find that you learn from them in certain ways sometimes from teaching as well, or?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But you're going to ask me for an example now, and I'm not going to be able to think of one off the top of my head.
That's fine. You don't have to give me that's just a generic question. I'll be like, I won't ask for an example because if someone asked me that, I'd be like, I don't know.
I mean, I think one of the things is when you're trying to teach like specific moves, like if one of the courses I do is like an introduction to like classic standard stock moves, so like shoulder shimmies and bump and grind, things like
Yeah,
that. It does make you break it down exactly how you're doing it, and it forces you to think about it in a different way and think,
yeah.
okay, well, I need to explain this to someone who might not have any dance or movement experience. How am I going to explain things like weight transfer,
Yeah.
um, isolation, things like that? So it really forces you to think about what you're doing, and in doing that, it's definitely improved my own technique.
Mm.
so so yeah,
Because you're consciously thinking about it while you're doing it.
exactly. It's that difference between being unconsciously aware and consciously aware.
Hmm. No, I totally get that. I do workshops. I don't regularly teach. I just do pop-up workshops.
Yeah.
But what I found is I always try and make them a little bit different because it tends to be the similar people that come to them. And that
Hmm.
also pushes me outside my zone because it's still my style, but I'm like, how can I adapt my style that I'm teaching to different things so I'm not kind of
Yeah.
teaching the same thing all the time as well. So
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
get, yeah, it's difficult to keep it fresh and to it's like a mental exercise as well, isn't it? A mental challenge of, okay, well, what am I going to do this time?
yeah. And that's why I don't do it regularly because I'm like, I don't have brain space for that. But yeah.
Oh, there have been two sections, two blocks I did of 6 weeks where each week we were doing a different routine, which meant I had to choreograph a different routine every week. And as we've discussed, I hate choreography. So my choreography has really improved this year because I've had to do it for other people.
Yeah. I can imagine because no, that's why people said to me, "Oh, would you teach regularly?" And I'm like, no, choreographing every week. And I put too much pressure on myself to make sure that the choreo is different from each other every week. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not, no. Mm-mm.
Mm,
So I admire you for doing that because
thank you.
Christ.
Thank you. It was a big challenge, but now it's done. I can teach those
Yeah.
6 week courses again and again, and it's done.
That's the way I look at it. I'm like, I now have these workshops that I'm like, cool, I can go and teach them somewhere else, or I can adapt it slightly for something
Yeah.
else. Or so
Yeah.
yeah, it's good that way. But
Yeah,
yeah.
the hard bit's done. Out of
Yeah.
the way.
So we've talked about you perform, you
Mhm,
produce, you
mhm.
teach, you host and sing.
I do, yes. Yeah.
A woman of many, many, many hats.
Well,
Um,
I've been doing it a long time. You pick up different skills along the way.
you're just like, um, is singing something you've always done? Is it something you picked up along the
Mhm.
way?
It's something I've always wanted to do,
Okay.
but I very much have that or had that feeling that I think a lot of people do. It's really common where it feels so intensely vulnerable
Hmm.
that it's scary in a way that nothing else is. I always used to say, "Oh, I'll take my clothes off in front of 1,000 people, but ask me to sing in front of two, and I'll shut down. I won't be able to do it."
Yeah.
Um, but I always wanted to because I've always really loved music, and it's another way of expressing yourself. And I'm lucky enough to have a friend who is not only a singing teacher, she runs a singing school.
Wow.
As a present, for I can't remember what it was for, it might have been a birthday present, she gave me a free lesson. And I thought, oh, okay, okay, it's time to actually take the plunge. And I went along to this lesson, which was just around the corner from my house, and really enjoyed it and got some really good feedback from the teacher. started going regularly, just booked regular
Mhm.
lessons. And I've had a couple of different singing teachers since then. One being the infamous Kiki DeVille. And
So good.
yeah, right. If you have a chance to take singing lessons from Kiki DeVille, do it. If you want to learn to sing, she will absolutely sort you out and help you.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's just a case of I wanted to. I finally took the plunge, and I just kept learning because I think that singing is different to burlesque in that I've always thought there's no wrong way to do burlesque,
Mhm.
no right or wrong way, which gives you incredible freedom. But as I said, I need framework, I need structure. So because I've never had any external feedback, I've never had much external feedback. When I started, there were no classes. We kind
Yeah.
of learned from watching videos and maybe getting together and giving mutual feedback, but neither of us was like in charge at that point. No one
Yeah.
was the teacher and the student. We were just peer review.
Yeah.
So because I've never really had anyone to teach me, I've been completely self-taught. I find it difficult to stay on track. Like I
Mhm.
need structure, I need deadlines. Whereas with singing, there is a wrong way to do it. You
Mhm.
know, there are techniques that if you don't learn them and you get into bad habits, you will cause damage. So you want to do it right. So you look
Yeah.
after your voice. And if I have a singing teacher who can tell me, okay, this is what you're doing wrong, try doing this instead, that's really helpful for me.
Yeah.
I get like quantifiable improvement or um, reason.
Actionable feedback. Like
Yeah, what a great term. What a great term. Yeah, actionable feedback. I love
that
that.
was such a corporate term that just fell
Yeah,
out there.
yeah, the day job made itself known there. But it works. Yeah, you know, they can give me homework and I know what to practice on or what to concentrate on when I practice rather.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turns out I'm actually not that bad at singing, so I just carried on.
And obviously it's something that you can incorporate so easily into hosting as well. So that means that you've got that kind of, it's another, what is it they say, arrow in your,
Another
oh,
string to the bow.
yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, that's why I did it basically. Like I say, it's difficult it's pretty difficult to get bookings when you are a chronically ill performer who doesn't
Mhm.
drive and lives in the Midlands where there's no really big cities nearby. So you got to make yourself as hireable as possible.
Yep.
So okay, let's learn new skills.
Plus it keeps you interested, doesn't it? It keeps you
Yeah.
busy, it keeps you going,
Oh,
it keeps you learning.
yeah. Yeah, if you've always got something new to learn, there's always new challenges.
Which takes me really nicely on to my next question.
Yeah.
Which is what has been your biggest learning curve as a performer?
Okay. Um, I'm going to go back to what I said about the difference between how people see you and how you see yourself.
Yep.
Um, one of the biggest challenges I have is I'm stubborn. I get an idea in my head and I think this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that idea might not be right for me. Like, you know,
Mm.
I want to be a cheesecake comedy cutesy burlesque, but I'm not. When I started singing, I wanted to be like a kind of a siren Lana Del Rey type. I'm not. In a lesson with Kiki DeVille once, she just casually said, "Oh, because you know you're a belter, you're a chest voice singer." And I said, "Am I?" And she was like, "How do you not know that? How can you not?" So suddenly that pivoted, and now I do like big rock and alternative pop songs,
Mm-hmm.
and it fits me so much better. Um, so having that sort of gulf between what I want to do and what is actually right for me. So I find it very difficult to see myself in the way that other people do, and marrying those two I find tricky because I don't want to let go.
Mm.
I have this idea of this is who I want to be. This is what I want to be, and I cling really tightly to that when I should let go and say, okay, well, this is actually the route I should go down. People show me the route, and I say, I don't want to. I don't want. I want to do this, and I have to do it a few more times and not get it right, like not connect with an audience or not connect with a song, and I have to learn the lesson the hard way. Even
Yeah.
now, after 18 years, like with my hosting persona, I wanted to be this like mysterious, timeless, ageless, possible vampire. As you can see, I'm an ancient bisexual vampire.
Oh, love it.
Thank
I
you.
saw Ancient Bisexual and I was like, where's that going? Yes.
So that was the act I wanted to do as a host. I wanted to be very aloof and very mysterious and enigmatic, and I'm not like that at all. I get up on stage with a microphone and this voice comes out, and no one's believing that this is an aloof, mysterious, what's the word, supernatural creature. They're just like, oh yeah, that's our mate Fleur, that is. So
I'm laughing because that rings so true. I do a little bit of hosting and I kind of want, I always go did. I dress really glamorous and I very much wanted to be like this kind of glamorous, not aloof, but like your rich auntie, right?
yeah,
It's like, oh, hello, darling, how are you? Right? Oh, I've come back from my latest travels. I
yeah,
go up on stage and I'm too busy, like, my feet hurt.
yeah,
Like, I'm like, do you like this? It's really warm. I'm like, I can't do that. Like my too much of my own personality comes out when you give me a microphone.
yeah. But I think that's a good thing. It's by embracing our own personalities that we get good at things like hosting, and that's what makes us stand out. It's what makes us different. You know, I could be this very aloof, um, glamorous creature who speaks in a very soft voice, and none of the audience would connect to me at all. Or I could just be me going on stage in a really pretty dress and fluffy leopard slippers going, I'm too old to wear heels, not doing it anymore. And one of those is much more relatable than the other.
It's that whole something I've always seen. I've been doing this for coming up to 7 years, and everyone's like, be authentic. And I was like, oh, I am. But the more I'm doing this, the more I'm realizing I wasn't necessarily being super authentic at the start because I didn't really either didn't know myself or I didn't know how I wanted to fit. And like as I'm getting a bit older, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is me. This is
Yeah.
who I am. It's fine.
No, I absolutely take what you're saying there, because people have always said it, and they will keep saying it, being authentic is the key. And it is, but exactly as you said, when we're young, we don't know who we are,
Mm-mm.
you know, and we can listen to this advice and think, yeah, but I don't know how to be authentic. How do I know I'm being authentic? Who's going to tell me that I'm doing this right?
Or you're like, I am being authentic, but you're not because you're too busy trying, you're actually trying to emulate other people because you think
Yeah.
you don't know who you are at that point.
Yeah. 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 Totally with you there. It takes a long time, I think, to get comfortable with who you are, and then even longer to do it on purpose.
Again, I still sometimes fight against the urge. I'm like, I'm going to be like this, then I go up on stage and I'm like, yeah, that lasted 5 seconds, didn't it?
Yeah, as soon as you get on stage, you can't hide it anymore.
I love that. So what I suppose, and purely in your opinion, because this is always an opinion thing, what do you think makes a good performer?
So again, I want to kind of go back to something I said earlier. I can't remember what we were talking about, but in my opinion, it's
Mm,
committing to the bit.
yep.
Whatever your bit is, like if you're joyful, show me joy, make me feel joy. If you're being melodramatic, be melodramatic, be over the top, cry some ugly tears. um if you're a monster and you're creepy, scare me.
Mm,
Really, really go for it. One of the things that I tell my students the first lesson with new students is always don't be afraid to look like a twat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that holds people back from being like truly great performers.
Hmm.
If you can get over your fear of looking like a twat and being judged, if you can get over the fear of, oh well, if I pull this face, maybe people will see that my teeth are a bit weird, or they'll think that my face is the wrong shape, or um, when people try and be sexy, if you've got that idea in the back of your head that you don't have any right to be sexy, who are you? Why do you think you can be sexy? And you worry that the audience are going to think that. It holds you back. You don't want to go too far because you don't want to be judged. But
Yeah.
if you can kind of be comfortable with looking like a twat, then it opens up so much more to you. It opens up more freedom, it opens up more confidence. And I love seeing performers who aren't afraid to be silly, because that's what gets the most connection.
Hmm.
We need to remember, I think, that any kind of performance is a communication, it's conversation. So if I'm watching you and you're giving me nothing back, then you're kind of not living up to your end of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more annoying on a burlesque stage, I think, than seeing someone who's, very technically beautiful, beautiful costume, precise moves. You can tell they've rehearsed this, they've done this 1,000 times, but they're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, and now I do this, 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 and yeah, I'm done. Bye bye. I no, I think whatever the bit is that you've chosen, if you commit to it, that's what makes you shine.
Yeah.
But like you say, that's just my opinion.
I think it's a good like tip and opinion to give though. I talked recently about how one of the big things that I think I not have learned the past couple of years, but have embraced the past couple of
Mhm,
years is that sort of not even necessarily committing, it is an element of committing to the bit, but like emotionally connecting with what the emotions my character, if
mhm,
there is emotions involved, are feeling and then showing that on stage. Because I have some acts that are, two in particular, that are meant to be quite emotional,
mhm.
but they also require props, and I ended up making them too technical. I was so focused on the technical, um, can't think of the word. Basically, I was too busy, technical execution, sorry, of the
Mhm.
act
Yeah, yeah.
that I cut out all the emotion from the act.
Right, yeah.
And I
Mhm.
had to go back to that and
Yeah.
actually kind of like, because they're gorgeous acts, but they never felt right. And that's
Mhm,
part of
mhm.
why. And I think that's probably something, going off what you're saying, if someone doesn't feel right, there's an element of, well, are you actually committing to the bit?
Yeah, yeah. I totally understand what you're saying there. And again, I think that there's a difference between knowing something and embracing it. Like intellectually, you probably knew that you have to show these emotions. And if someone had said, like, oh no, you've got to connect with this emotion, you'd say, well, yeah, obviously, I know
Yeah.
that, of course. But there's a difference between intellectually knowing something and actually being able to apply it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Mhm.
was watching, I did, that act gets booked, one of the acts gets booked a lot for festivals, and one of the videos I looked back, I came off the stage and I was like, that was awful.
Mm,
And then I watched the video and I was like, that was awful. And there
mm,
was nothing technically wrong with the act,
mm,
but it
mhm.
was flat.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been there. I've been there so many times. And
It's so horrible. It's a horrible thing, but if you can identify that, I think that's when you can start to improve it, and that's
oh yeah. Yeah.
part of it as
I
well.
struggled a lot for years with connection and connecting to the audience. And I would look back at my photos and they'd be really pretty. But then I'd look at the videos and I'd think, well, they're pretty because I'm not doing anything with my face.
Mm,
I'm just very like serene. Um, so again, for me, it was the embrace feeling like a twat.
yeah.
There's that old saying that if your photos are if your photos are hideous, it's probably because you were doing great things.
Yeah.
You were actually doing facial expressions. So,
I have so many pictures where I'm like,
oh yeah, I refer to them as the blow up doll pictures. When you're hosting and singing, you get so many when your mouth is just like, ugh,
yep.
I hate them. But it shows you were committing.
Yeah. And that's part of it. So all of us, you've been doing this for 18 years. We've kind of touched on this a little bit, but going forward, what are your sort of goals for burlesque?
Um, I think we've talked a lot about my goals for like the local community and the local scene. My goal, like as an entire burlesque entity,
Hmm.
is to spotlight local talent, give them place um to grow,
Hmm.
because we're getting a lot of newer performers, and not just in burlesque. There's a lot of performers in like the queer scene, the drag scene,
Okay.
and lots of different genres. So there's so much room for experimentation and growing there. And
Yeah.
we've also got international headliners here as well. So we've got like such a range and a mix of experience levels and different skills, different talents, that we really have no excuse to not be showing them off and
Mm.
not be lifting them up and spotlighting them. So that's, as I say, my goals as like a big entity,
Yep.
as a performer, producer, host, all of that put together. Um, and then on a personal level, one of my goals is to remind people I'm still here. Like, hi, I didn't retire. I'm still available. I want to try and get back to my pre, what's the word? Pre-pandemic level of busyness. That'd be
Yep.
nice. Um, I'd like to perform outside of Europe because I've done a lot of traveling in Europe, but I think like the next big goal is go to a different continent,
Hmm.
because one of the things I love about traveling with burlesque is seeing different burlesque scenes and seeing what the different predominant styles are, what the different types of events that happen are, how everything's different, but also how everything's the same.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see that outside of Europe, and see like what is Asian burlesque like, what is
Mm.
American burlesque like. I would like to see what the differences and again the similarities are.
Yep.
I really want to perform with a live band.
Oh,
Like that's like,
yes.
yeah, that's one of my biggest goals. So
Hmm.
yeah, anyone wants a gothic femme fatale slow burn seductress for a live band show, hit me up. I will be there. So yeah, I've got kind of like a mix of personal goals and then larger goals that I'm working towards.
I love that. I feel like your new hashtag should just be like hashtag not retired.
Yeah,
Like that's
hashtag I'm still here.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, I will be everywhere if you
Merch, hashtag not retired.
got retired. I love it.
I've really enjoyed this chat, but so people can follow you and find out what else that you are doing in the
Mhm,
future and see that you are not retired. Where
mhm.
can they follow you on socials?
Well, not on Facebook because my page was taken away and I am too bitter to set up a new one.
Fair.
So on Instagram, you can either find me on Miss Fleur Du Mal, all one word, or Bad Flower Burlesque, again, all one word. So one of them is my personal, and the other is like my production Instagram. So it has all of my details of my shows, pictures and videos from there, information on the performers you could see at those shows. And I'm all over TikTok as well. Again, Miss Fleur du Mal. So yeah, if you want to see the behind the scenes nonsense, TikTok is the place to go.
Yeah, so you make all your costumes. That's where I see it all. I'm like, oh, what you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, see me make my costumes and not be able to explain a single thing I'm doing.
this is a lie. You're like, do I place things here? Do I place things here? And then you show us how you do. It's great. I
Oh,
love it.
it's very visual. It's very visual.
We
Yeah.
love that.
Just not
Oh,
so much words.
thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh,
This
thank
has
you for having
been,
me. It's
no, it's
been
been
really
lovely to
fun.
chat. And yeah, if you're coming up to Glasgow in December, let's get coffee or I don't know, a cheeky little like Bailey's hot chocolates since it's Christmas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a
Yeah.
plan to me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, lovely, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.